Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Discovery Season 1, Episode 14. It's called The War Without, The War Within. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, I thought I was really interested to come into this one and seeing what it was going to be. Because we'd kind of speculated last week, because it kind of felt like, why wasn't the last one just the finale, and then this was kind of the cliffhanger for next season? Is it just going to feel like a two-parter kind of thing? What are they doing with it? And I wasn't sure, like, is it going to be just as quickly paced? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? And it still could just be a two-part thing. I'm almost inclined to think it is, but what I think is really bizarre about it, having now watched this episode, is that this very much was all set up for the next episode.
Yes, absolutely. This is very slow-paced compared to what the season as a whole has been.
Yeah, it slowed right down, and it was all just dealing with all the various plot threads that were kind of wrapping up from the previous arc, and then sort of like propelling into the next episode.
It's really annoying, because we've been saying for a while the show needs to slow down, but the episode before the last is not the one you want to slow down on. That's where you want to be ramping up.
That's not the place, yeah. This season's been all over the place in terms of where its pacing has been. It's been, it's been going back and forth, but it's been going back and forth in the wrong places.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really, really bizarre. But so we deal with basically all the various threads that were kind of left dangling last week. Plus, obviously, the Admiral Cornwell comes in and takes over the ship, takes over command. You almost felt kind of bad. It's like, nah, Saru's captain. Go away. What are you doing?
On that, I have a question. We start with a shot of the ship, the exterior, and it's back to when did they repaint? They did that quick.
Did they do that before they came for their mission? Because at that point they because everyone knew that they were their ship at that point. So maybe we're like, oh no, if we're going in guns blazing and we might die, and we're trying to blow up this network core thing, we're going in with our colours. We're doing our
maybe it just seems like low priority.
But to be fair, if you go back and look at the last episode, you might find that it wasn't already painted. I have no idea. It never even occurred to me, but that's a good question. If it was still ISS, if they still repainted it towards the end of the last episode, then yeah, this is ridiculous that it's already...
Honestly, even in that episode, I question it. If I didn't catch it, obviously, last week, but even then I'd go, look, priorities. Your paint job doesn't really matter right now. Worry about that later.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but hey. So, obviously, we had no Ash last week at all. We get quite a bit of them this week. Some good, some bad. I think I liked the cafeteria scene.
Yes.
I felt that was very like core Star Trek ideals, where he walks in, and at first I wasn't liking it. At first I was like, I don't know if I can really be bothered with them all like thinking he's a creep and like everyone shunning him. But then Tilly, all heroic, gets up and sits with them when he's sitting alone, and then redhead on bridge with tech inside of head gets up and sits next to him as well.
One day we'll learn her name.
Well, this may have been like our third line of dialogue. Like I'm not going to feel bad about it.
It's one of those where she's in every episode. I can tell her just at her look. It's like, okay, I recognise you. I know what your job is.
Yeah.
One day I'll know her name.
Yeah. There's her, and then there's a black woman on the bridge who's got a lot of hair. Like you feel like there's a lot going down the back of her head, and then there's the robot dude with the weird colour. He's got a sort of like black and blue kind of face thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice if we got to know the bridge crew a little bit, wouldn't it?
A little bit, yeah. I'm not asking for much, but just so I could at least name them.
Yeah, that would be nice. Instead, every time we have to describe them awkwardly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so no, it's a nice scene, and the music plays. It's just everyone sitting next to him, and it's like eventually it's like too many for the table, and I'm like, okay, this is starting to look silly, guys. This is looking. I get the gesture, but it's looking silly. But I mean, I'm just joking about that, because really it was kind of a sweet scene, and it was kind of these ideals of like, no. Like, he's went through this thing, and we're going to band together because that's what Starfleet does. That's what the Federation. That's what the ideals are all about. So, I applaud that. The actual drama with Michael later on, though, I mean, I did like Tilly's argument that she has to go and face it because we'll end up like that if we don't acknowledge our own darkness and fight through it and deal with it and conquer it. I like that part of it. When she actually goes to see Tyler,
that's kind of my least favorite stuff of the episode.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's kind of a drag, and I'm like, why are we doing this?
I think the love part of their relationship was never like
I never bought it long enough.
Yeah, it was because I remember when the first time they kissed, and we kind of went, "Oh, okay, we're doing that."
Yeah, it's when Ash says, "Oh, no, I loved you." That's what got him, through it. Like that's how he was resisting Laurel's call. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
Yeah, really?
it's another example of something they didn't give enough time to really develop. Now, admittedly, on top of that, I don't think they have that much chemistry, which I think also
No,
kind of hurts
me
it.
either.
It's mostly him. He's kind of weird.
He's a bit bland, isn't he?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of charisma coming from him. But yeah, the scene there was a lot of like blah, blah. I did like how it ended though, and that she never actually like made up with them and like, okay, we're going to be happy now. It was like, nah, like live your life, but I can't get over this. So
It was more interesting, definitely.
yeah, because it wasn't the typical ending you expect. It was like, yeah, like, I'm not going to get over this, so like I'm facing this by telling you goodbye, but this is it. Like I'm done.
But honestly, my biggest concern with this was, okay, so this is still going to be open if they want to come back to this in the next episode or early next season.
I think he's sacrificing himself next episode.
See, that's the thing. I'm still down to either he goes out or because a big thing in this episode that we learn is the Klingons have been winning, but their attacks have been so random because they're not united. They've just been
it's 20. What's it?
24.
24, something like that.
Yeah, all the clans basically.
Yeah, all the clans, they're all fighting set. They're basically playing for sport and seeing who can like do the most damage to the Federation.
Right. And I still think maybe he's going to be the one to unite them somehow.
Yeah. Obviously,
with having some human in him and Klingon, there's a balance there.
Yeah, Cornwall goes to Laurel when basically because they're going to Starbase 1 because it's like the last main thing that's still there, and they get there and it's been destroyed and there's no life signs other than Klingons on board. So like, crap, we have to get here. And she gets frustrated. She goes to Laurel, and it's like, hey, your side's winning. Like we're kind of screwed. And like she starts monologuing about Tekuvma and United and this is why we're winning. And she's like, nah, you're not united at all. Like it's all your various clans are all just like fighting each other, trying to like outdo each other to beat us. This is not what you wanted at all.
Tekuvma meant shit, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, Laurel might like want to, but the interesting part at the end was that she's like, okay, how does this war end? Like if you win, like. What no one's making demands. We don't have there's no surrender terms. There's nothing. And she's like, well, no, of course not. It just ends with you being extinct. that's how we win a war. Is we annihilate you.
Yeah, it still feels like we need to go back in time, doesn't it?
It does. This is the thing. See when they first showed up and they started looking at like the map and they're just on the round table and they're making plans. I'm like, oh, maybe we won't go back in time. Maybe we'll just kind of like win the war from here. And then like they get Starbase 1 and that's destroyed. And I'm like, nah, things are too far gone.
When they're talking about all the planets that the Klingons have decimated, I'm like, okay, I buy that you'd want peace, but obviously knowing that at some point Klingons become allies, is this forgivable?
Yeah. So I'm fully expecting time travel shenanigans. It may not even be next. I mean, it could be something they did in season 2.
I can see it being the final moment of the season.
Yeah, that's the obvious thing for it to happen.
And then season 2, because obviously this season the show was always promised as this, the Klingon War, and ultimately we didn't actually get that much of it once we got going. It wasn't really about that. So I can see them. Okay, if we go back the few months, that can actually be season 2. Is panning out that way,
which is actually really frustrating because the fact that it's the Klingon War was the least interesting thing about this show when they announced it.
It was, yeah. Because
we've done Klingons. Like I'm not even seen all of Star Trek, and I'm like I feel the fatigue. Like I know we're going to see lots of good Klingon stuff in in the next gen and the movies and like all these things. Like it feels like okay, you're just kind of like why does it have to be Klingons? This is like I don't know. I don't even want to say it's like Batman always going back to the Joker because that's at least that's inherently more interesting because he always tries to help himself.
Yeah.
But it's kind of that thing where they keep going back to the most well-known villain group.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of getting boring, isn't it?
And you almost wonder, is that why it keeps being prequels? Is that why it keeps being rebooting or either reboots or prequels? Because if they set it after Next Gen and Deep Space Nine, they can't
do that. Yeah,
they can't have Klingons be villains. And if that's the reason, that really does suck. Because then it's like, nah, like just do post the show.
I mean, to be fair, with the reboot of the movies, they didn't do much Klingons, did they?
They had them in the second movie.
They were there a bit, but they weren't the main thing, were they?
Well, they
I don't
weren't,
remember that well enough.
they weren't, but you could tell they were seeding it for a future movie. They just never.
Yeah.
But that was what they wanted to do. Obviously, was to have a Klingon villain fight. Because the one time they showed up in that second movie, it was, they were hostile.
Yes, yeah.
So
No, of course, but I'm
yeah.
like, we never really got to it from those movies.
No, but
No,
I
we
think
never
that was
will.
the plan. I think that may have even been the plan for the third movie originally, and then the other people started writing it and they changed
Yeah,
things up.
reception to 2 wasn't too hot, so they moved to Bray.
Yeah, so but which is fine. But I do wonder. So if season 2 ends up just being the Klingon War because we didn't really get to it this season, that will be kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that'll be
But
disappointing.
it's a double edged sword though, because if they just solve it by the end of the next episode, if they go back in
What is
time.
the next season?
Well, no, that's not why it's a double edged sword. It's a double edged sword because then it's too quick, and I don't
Yeah.
buy it, and it's just like, so that was it.
No, well, that's true.
So they've got two options here. Either they put me through another season of what I think we don't really want, or what anyone really wants, or they end it quickly and it'll feel really underwhelming, like they didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah, it's really weird this because I don't think this was a bad episode by any means. I think most of it was doing pretty good stuff. It's the stuff I want to see, just not at this point in the season. So it just feels weird. I'm like, why are we doing this now?
No, there's definitely stuff I like. The Georgiou stuff was good, where she's like been held captive and like she's sort of like she ends up giving them intel. Like, oh, if you want to beat the Klingons, you have to go to the planet Kronos. You have to decimate them there and like.
Yeah.
And like the idea that Starfleet and like the Admiral are having to lower their principles a little bit and like take her plan, because it's basically at the point now where desperation's kind of
It was, her taunting Saru was fantastic.
the opening, when she's like, "Hey, give me that gun, slave!" Like that moment was
Yeah. And when she was saying to Margaret, it's like, we were feasting on this guy's brother last night. What's he doing here?
And I really like the scene afterwards where you think Saru's going to be pissed at her for lying, and he instead just like kind of like no one else could have done that. Like there's this respect that's been kind of
He's like, I get
reformed.
it. I don't necessarily like it, but I get it.
And there's a big thing at the end where like Georgiou's condition was that she has to like they have to tell everyone. Now obviously Michael and Saru know that she's really from the other universe,
and the one other guy who was in the transport room.
That's right, yeah, because that was like a treasonous thing to if he tells anyone. But in the end, the big thing is that Georgiou comes in dressed in Starfleet uniforms and comes in and it's like, hey, she actually survived and we just got her and she's back now. It was basically the story they
basically
said.
Lorca, yeah.
Yeah, in the Mirror universe, yeah, it was that same story. And like everyone's all happy, but I loved that during the entire scene, Saru and Michael were just giving each other this look, like
they were like, "What the hell is going on?"
And they were like, okay, we need to be ready to deal with her. should things go wrong here?
They're like, okay, everyone's just going to follow her orders unconditionally, but we're on alert. If we think she's gone too far, we're going to step in.
Yeah, and that's the big cliffhanger. Obviously, they spend some time because they need some spores to actually do some jumps. So they end up trying to quickly terraform this dead planet. To
I think it's a moon.
Was it a moon? Yeah. But it was. I mean, to be fair, in terms of visuals, it was a really pretty scene. The music was quite good as they were all firing down and it was growing, and it was a very nice scene. It was all spectacle, but it was but in an episode with almost no action, I think that was your spectacle moment, which is fine.
It was nice though.
Yeah.
It really was, and it's the sort of things that in the middle of the season I'd have really enjoyed that.
but one episode from the end, you're going, this is weird. Why?
It is. I'm so conflicted because this episode is what I want mostly, but why now?
Yeah,
I don't get it. It just who is plotting this as a season? Who plotted this out and went, right, okay, we're doing this here? It's baffling.
Do you say I didn't like that much when Tyler runs into Stamets?
Yeah,
I didn't think that scene worked that well.
No, from either of them, to be honest.
I think more Tyler, but yeah, like
but I think it was at odds because Stamets was obviously annoyed, understandably, but the whole crew was kind of we were going through this thing with the whole crew forgiving him, so it just kind of felt at odds with the rest of the message that we were doing.
I mean, this scene came before the
it did
cafeteria scene, to be fair, but it just I don't know, it just didn't play a way that felt right. I think part of it is again Tyler's lack of like charisma. I think Stamets like even just saying anything felt wrong. Like, I feel like what they played better to me is if he just like stayed quiet and just walked past them, like he's not even entertaining the the conversation. Like he can't look at him, kind of thing. But I don't know. They played weird.
It is this one because I think I liked Tyler. He's never had charisma. Don't get me wrong, but it worked when he was this broken man, this tortured shell. Now he's supposed to be whole again, kind of. It's not really playing for me anymore.
I mean, I wouldn't use that phrase. I think he's still a broken man, but he's just not.
Yeah, but he's complete. Like, he's like, okay, no, he's not flipping between two things. He's not having visions. He's not. He's not gone through that. Torture doesn't seem to be weighing on him in those same way.
Sure, but he's still broken by all the memories he's now got, and he still has all of Volk's memories. He mentions that he can access them. So he remembers snapping Stamets' neck. So you see the guilt's weighing on him. So I mean, that's why I'd say the phrase "whole again's" a bit, maybe a bit too.
I mean, when I say whole again, like he's gone from being these two fractured personalities to he is one person now.
But the man needs therapy.
Absolutely.
So, which is why I'm fighting again, because whole again has a meaning typically.
That's fair.
And I feel like So yeah, it was kind of weird. So Telly was quite good in the episode. Telly was mostly on point.
She's been really growing on me over the season.
Yeah, she's. I mean, growing on me, but I think she's just grown as a character since the start of the show. Yeah. She's had some of the better character development. As is Saru, I like Saru quite a bit.
Those two are been the standouts by far.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I wonder if they shot this episode later than the rest. Obviously, I'm not just speculating that because they added 2 episodes on. I'm speculating that because maybe I just didn't notice it before, but Michael's hair. I know she has a lot more hair, like now. Like I've seen photos of her, like the premiere or whatever it was, and she had quite a big, head of hair. And in this episode, I was noticing that it was like she actually did have a lot more hair, but it was like tied down.
Oh, okay. I have to say I didn't notice, but I wasn't looking for it, so.
There was I. So maybe it's been like that for a while, and I've just not noticed. But I picked up on it, and I went, "Oh, she's got a lot more hair that's just been kind of."
Oh no, you're right. That is one of those things that once you notice, you'll notice it, but you don't know how long it's been like that because it's not something you pay attention for.
But I don't remember it being like that at first. Like I remember that was just how short her hair was at first, and I wonder if it's just been gradual over the season, or if it was a time jump and she had to have a lot more hair suddenly.
No, it's possible.
From before, I don't know. Which is not a big deal. It's not a complaint. It's just an observation more than anything else.
I think if it was a case of they shot these later, that would be even weirder as to why these exist.
It would be. Maybe it's just like, we want a better cliffhanger for end of the season, or
maybe
they want a more finalised thing for the end. I don't know.
I don't know what the purpose, because like I said, we said last week's episode was a very good cliffhanger for the end of a season. I stand by that. Maybe they'll top it next week. Don't get me wrong. Maybe they'll give me, no, that's an end of season moment. But last week's would have been perfectly good enough for that.
Yeah, we had a lot of problems with the episode last week, but it wasn't necessarily the ending. It was more just how it seemed to waste a lot of potential from before.
Yeah, but as a moment to end on for a season, going, okay, now what? It was really quite good for that.
Although, funnily enough, it'd still have that problem where, we're just getting to Klingon War in season 2. But
it would be different.
But I think... Well, no, not necessarily.
Well, okay, it would be different in the sense of we're not going now, okay, we're wrapping this up in 2 episodes, what are we doing with this? I'd go, okay, their goal is to fix the situation rather than
like, the reason why it wasn't necessarily that disappointing last week is because my immediate thought was, we're not going to fight the Klingons, we're going to try and time travel. Like, that was like what I thought the solution would be. And I still think that's what the solution is going to be, but I'm a little bit worried now we're going to time travel, get back to just after when they left, it's like, we still got this war to fight for the next season. So
I thought it was amusing that the ISS Discovery was just destroyed immediately.
Yeah, but it's probably the least interesting thing to do. It made them sound
really incapable.
Yeah. Although, actually, if you remember though, when our Discovery jumped over, they were right in the middle of
they were with
danger,
the Klingons, weren't they?
Yeah, so it actually makes sense. Like, our Discovery probably would have been destroyed, like, in a minute if they hadn't jumped.
Probably. But so, it was just like, oh, okay, well, that's that solved.
That's that dealt with. Yeah. I did like the thing that they thought the Discovery had just been destroyed, though. Because like, it just changed for, like, a minute, and then it was destroyed. So they wouldn't necessarily have time to, like, realise, this was some alternate universe ship or whatever.
And it would have been in tiny little pieces.
Exactly. And they're too preoccupied fighting with Klingons to like stop and like go through the wreckage and
verify it. And I'm sure they don't spend the time going and collecting the tags in that sort of situation.
I wouldn't imagine so. They'd have been very confused though when they got to Captain Tilly.
Oh, that'd have been great.
This isn't quite line up with her records. She's supposed to be like a cadet or a rookie here. What's going on?
Yeah.
Um,
I kind of wish we'd had that scene now.
I know. So this is the weird thing about this episode, because we've sounded mostly negative, and I actually think a lot of the smaller things it's doing, like the scene with Michael and Sarek, I thought worked quite well with a goodbye.
Yeah, definitely.
That was nice.
When Sarek comes on and he does the mind meld with Saru, and his reaction is really interesting.
Yeah, all the Georgiou stuff was good. I liked all that kind of stuff. It's a weird place. I don't understand. Like, it feels like everything we're building up to now has been built up too quick, even though the episode was one of the slowest ones we've had, because we've done it right after like another arc that was really rushed. It's just weird.
Yeah.
I think the way they spaced this season out and how they plotted the 15 episodes is absolutely downright weird. I don't understand it.
It's just bizarre. It follows no logical structure.
And it's left me feeling like the whole thing feels rough. It almost feels like a rough draft. Like, this is just the ideas that someone shot out onto a page without really refining them. It does,
because if you take most of the episodes individually, they're pretty good to, oh, this is really good, individually. But when you look at them as a whole, I'm going, what's going on here?
I mean, I think there's some weaker ones, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, I said most, not all.
It's just, I don't know. It's the whole thing's left me feeling kind of hollow. Like, it's not adding up.
Yeah.
There's lots of ingredients that I like, but it's not quite adding up to a cohesive whole.
It feels like a problem from the outset of plotting of what's the season arc. Where the initial breakdown.
And I have to wonder. I have to wonder if having a different showrunner from the get-go for season 2 is going to help this.
It might, because part of this could have been the conflicting visions of, oh, they were already so far in, and someone, okay, no, I've got to take over and go from here.
Yeah, and whether that was just like a clash of styles, whether it was just this was Fuller's plan and then someone else had to come in and do it, so it feels weird because of that, or whatever caused it. I do wonder if season 2 just having someone from the get-go plotting the whole, plotting with his writer's room or whatever, if that benefits and that helps us and that gives us
I would hope so. There's no guarantee, of course, but that's the hope.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame where you've got your big budgets, it's very slick, and you've got all these things, but it feels like the core rating isn't up to snuff to actually make use of it.
It's a shame, because I'm starting to like a bunch of the characters. I think it's got a really good cast. Production is obviously off the charts.
Honestly, obviously I said that if we just wrap everything up next episode in terms of the war, and we quickly have Laurel and Volkash or whatever, if we quickly have them at least like maybe hint that they're going to try and start like bringing the Klingons together and maybe end the war peacefully. As much as I said that would feel really rushed, and it will feel really rushed, it is probably the better of the options, because my hope, I think, for season 2, honestly, is a bit of a time jump. And I hope that Tyler's basically gone. I want the crew to be more ingrained. Give Michael or wings back. Yeah. And just be a bit more Star Trek-y. Basically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you know, I think one of the problems is Star Trek, it's in its name. You've got to trek, you've got to travel, you've got to discover, whereas the ship just jumps wherever it wants. There is no discovery because it knows where it's going. Ironically.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It's actually probably the in terms of just what the show actually is, it's probably the worst title they could have probably.
Yeah, because there's no, okay, let's just travel over in that direction and see what we find, which is often what Star Trek did, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they...
To a point. But...
There were sometimes they'd go out to survey things, sometimes there'd be a distress call, sometimes they'd have orders to go to a specific place. I mean, it varied depending.
Right. But there was a lot of, okay, let's go over that way, and we run into something along the way.
Yeah.
But there's none of that running into stuff along the way in this show, because they're just, oh, okay, we're there.
Which, it doesn't necessarily bother... That part doesn't bother me specifically if it was more tightly kind of put together, and it was just like an intriguing plot. Like, I don't mind if they're going to say, this is not that Star Trek show, this is a Star Trek show about, what this ship does. That's fine. Like, yeah, sure, let's do something different. I mean, we've got plenty of that old Star Trek.
No, that's fine.
But, like...
Weird naming for that is all.
Yeah, it's just weird naming. But yeah, so I really hope this has been a really weird season, and because it was funny, and again we've said this the last couple of episodes, but it was starting to feel like it was coming together. It was really just before the break.
7 through like 11 or 12.
Yeah, just before the break, it started to pick up, and then the first couple back where it was setting up all the mirror stuff, and they were here and they're getting the costumes on and stuff. It was like, okay, this is going at a nice pace. It's building to these things, and then this is the third one in a row where this wasn't as I think it's technically the best of the last three. I mean, the last week had better action, I suppose, but it depends how you look at it.
It's the most consistent.
But the last three have definitely been this sort of disappointing kind of chunk where it feels like, okay, now all the faults of the season and the faults of what they're doing here are really just sort of coming to the surface, and it's really hurting the resolutions, the outcome, the emotional impact of anything.
Think this episode suffers more because of that as well. Like last episode, I think would have felt rushed no matter where, because it was coming off of the one before of, okay, no, here's the reveal and now Lorca's done. So it doesn't matter where in the season that is, it's kind of rushed with those two together.
That's besides the point, though. The point is the episode itself was just a pure choice of what to do with that plot.
Yeah. But what was is this episode here, as an episode, if you'd given me this at like episode 6 or 7 or 8, I'd have told you, no, this was a pretty damn good episode with some flaws.
Oh, okay, well, sure. Yeah, obviously a different plot would have to have got us here though beforehand or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think yeah, you could say, okay, so if it was different placed differently, then sure. But I feel like my disappointment last week of like, oh, that's it with Lorca, really?
No, that's true.
and this week, I don't know. So I hate that we've been so negative the last few weeks, but it's really kind of hit a rough patch. And unfortunately, it's a rough patch that's making the season as a whole look much weaker.
I think we feel more negative now than we did before. At the start of the season, we weren't singing its praises, but we were hopeful, I think, even though it was rough. Now it's more frustrating because we've seen it be better. We know it can do better than this. It's proved that. And now it's more annoying because of it.
Alternatively, you have hope at first because you're right at the start and they've got time to fix things. They've got time to find their footing. And then it started to feel like they were finding their footing, and then it all kind of went to shit. And I think my concern with that is like, was that chunk that was getting better, was that just a fluke? Or was that them actually getting better?
Here's something to think about on the idea of, okay, no, we changed showrunners, we moved over. Mm-hmm. I wonder if the broad strokes were penned out so they knew this is where we start, this is where we end.
Mm-hmm.
But the middle section, which was the best section for us, was kind of left open. So it was like, okay, we can kind of do what we want in here as long as we get to this point.
And they didn't have time to properly write all of it so that it all kind of worked together.
Yeah, so I wonder if next season, if they're not going, okay, this is the strokes we have to hit, and we can go from scratch at the more appropriate pace. Maybe.
I mean, obviously I'm hopeful. Because it's called Star Trek, we're pretty much guaranteed to keep watching it and either,
Well, I mean, we're doing all the rest of it, so...
Exactly, so what negative or positive will keep going, but it's just, yeah, it's been a rough patch. It's been a rough patch. And I know some folk are liking it, I know there's a lot of people who don't like it. I mean, some people wrote show off right away and, abandoned ship. We stuck around, we thought it was getting better, and then it feels like it's like the problems of the season of a whole have really turned their heads. So hopefully we have some positive things to say about where the finale leaves us off on. I think at this point though, after these 3 episodes, I don't think I can come out of the finale being that positive in terms of this episode itself. I feel like the best case scenario for me now is that I feel like it leaves us in a good place for season 2, but not necessarily that the episode itself will be great.
I agree with that, because I'm like, okay, I don't know what it can do to please me at this point. To feel like this is either not too rushed, or if it's just like, what was the point of these episodes?
Yeah. And this is the other thing, part of me expects that the whole Georgiou, thank you. Joe Hurts as well, some of the characters on the show say it differently as well. I noticed that this one. The Admiral definitely said more of a hard G at the start, and some of them don't. But anyway, Michelle Yeoh, this whole plot with her, I feel like this will probably be done by the end of the next episode.
Yeah, and it's another case of wasted potential.
Yeah, like, no, have that going for like a while. Like,
I hope it sticks around.
but then part of the reason why we thought she wasn't going to last long at the start is probably why I'd say it's probably not going to stick around for a while, because she's a big actor. She's going to want to leave and do other projects.
That's true, but so's Jason Isaacs, and we didn't have him written off.
Yeah, but now he's killed off, so you can go back and do season 2 of the OA. That's what's happened with him.
Pretty much. Get back to his movies. I mean, he's all over the place, isn't he?
I like that we'll get more OA out of him than... I mean, I suppose in episode numbers it's not really, but like in terms of seasons it will be. There'll be more of him in the OA than there is Star Trek. But
we assume.
Obviously, yeah, he could die in episode 2 of season 2 for all we know.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Alternatively, he could come back in this, so...
Yeah, he very well could. And the fact that he went into the network implies that I expect to at least see him in like network, like Ghost Vision at some point.
Yeah, when Stamets goes in there at some point. Definitely.
Yeah. Somehow Michael will end up jacking in, she'll have to run into him, and we'll get that creepy...
Yeah, I'd expect at least a guest appearance from him at some point.
Honestly, I'm half expecting to see him at least once in the finale.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to put money on it, but I wouldn't surprise me if we get him once next episode.
You might be right.
Even if it's a flashback or something, but I feel like we're going to get his presence in some capacity.
Yeah.
But hey, that is the penultimate episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 1. Sorry it's been such a negative talk the last few weeks, but I'd rather it wasn't, but this is just where we are.
Well, this is the hand we've been dealt.
Yeah, I'm not, you don't want us to pull our punches, so... but that is Star Trek Discovery. So let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Your thoughts on the season so far. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. If you want to get channel updates and stuff. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. There'll be a link to that in the description, amongst other stuff. So check out that. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching, guys. Keep watching TV. And Connor's chronic hiccups strike at the most awkward of times right before I say the final line. Have you got any vanilla?